Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is if you have your sun in Libra and Cancer rising. So I did the opposite version. Now I'm doing this one. And when the sun is in Libra, the goals are connected to that sun sign. So what are Libra's goals, or what kind of things would Libra be interested in? Libra is ruled by Venus, so anything that adds beauty to the world is something that Libra loves. So it could be interior design, it could be being a fashion designer, a beautician. Because Libra is an air sign, it's going to be connected to the intellect, and the air signs, the other air signs are Gemini and Aquarius, they tend to be highly intelligent. Sometimes with Libra individuals, um, other people may not truly appreciate just how smart this individual is because they may be physically attractive. I've been talking about the rising sign and how that can actually determine the physical appearance, because the rising sign is the cusp of the first house, and that's the house of the self, including the body. But I do believe that it's kind of a mixture, and it can also be that the rising sign ceases to be as influential as the person gets older. That's always a possibility, and then they resemble the sun sign more. Um, and I think with this combination, that could very well be true, where when the person is younger, they're more of the Cancer energy. And remember that energy, I think that energetically, something that your energy field can affect how you look. And it's kind of like if someone loses a loved one and other people say he aged 10 years. Now, can we look at that biologically and see that there's some rhyme or reason to that? Or is it the emotional shock that has worked its way into affecting the physical, but there's no real biological reaction on its own? It has to do with something that is at a deeper level. So, in the case of this combination, uh, the person may have a moon face. Now, men can have very round faces, but I always think of women for some weird reason. I'm trying to think offhand if I know any men that have very round faces. And they can retain water. Water signs can retain water very easily. So, what that means is that the person may always feel, and this is not going to be true 100% of the time, but it might resonate with some people out there, that it's very easy for you to retain water, but it's also easy for you to lose water weight because it is not connected to, it's something that's can be eliminated very quickly, because they say sometimes we can carry several pounds of weight that's connected to water. I forgot how many they said, maybe as much as 5. And that can really affect the appearance. And some people, have a certain area of their body where they tend to, when they gain excess weight, it tends to go to a certain area. Maybe for some it's their belly, but maybe for some it's their face. And so anyway, this there's another thing that they said about Cancer, which I found very interesting, because I think there might be some truth to it. And if any of you can resonate, do resonate with this, drop me a comment and let me know, your experience with this, because it's always good to get that kind of, um, you know, validation that what I'm saying rings true for you. Because one of the astrology books that I read talked about the unusual and awkward gait or walking style of a Cancer rising, that, and they might have said Cancer sun sign for all I know, but I think they were talking about the appearance or the rising sign, that resembles the crab walking in the sand. And so it's kind of lopsided. And even the body, I think they mentioned the body, like maybe having a long torso or something. So a long torso means that you have shorter legs and a longer, like your waist, your upper body is longer than your lower body. For instance, I have long legs, so my lower body's, I think, longer than my upper body. But I think even the body type might be quite unusual, like kind of roundish too. Like I'm thinking of somebody like Deborah Harry, from Blondie, who is a Cancer. And if you look at her body type, um, there's kind of like a round, it's not, and of course she's a petite woman, so she's not overweight or anything like that, but she still has a body that is, I don't really know her body that well, but it's almost like that crab as well. So the body, it might even be sometimes a pear shape, or it's just not, it might not be symmetrical, in other words. People who have an hourglass figure have, the top and the bottom are the same measurements approximately. And then they have a very thin waist. Well, how many people have that? But then you might just have straight highway where you got very slim hips, slim bust, and there's no uh, curves at all. But that's uniform. But then you talk about the body that might be a little bit asymmetrical. I can't remember exactly what they said, but the kind of the walk is kind of the shifting, like the crab walking in the sand, and kind of like an irregular gait. So I don't know if anybody is going to cop to that or even know what I'm talking about. But anyway, so the rising sign can be particularly powerful during through one's 20s, and then you get older and you start to really go after your sun sign because you want to make your dreams come true. And it really is about individuating so that you're not trying to fit into your family of origin, you're not trying to please your parents, you're doing something for yourself. And you know who you are more at that time. But before that, when the Cancer energy is front and center, when you're a child, you may be a crybaby. And I don't like that, that term isn't very nice, I suppose, but I don't know a better way of putting it. You may easily cry because you're so sensitive. But it's not just about being sensitive in life. Of course, anybody who has prominent water in their chart, in other words, in inner planets, inner points, is going to be sensitive or an empath. They're going to tend to be very tuned into other people and the world in a very sensitive way. That's a given. But when I say a crybaby, it's because the person is sensitive towards themselves. They may feel very self-protective, that they have to guard against some kind of attacks. Now, typically this is going to be the one thing that a child is going to fear is ridicule. A can a Cancer rising child. And if for some reason they do experience this, it can really upset them, maybe more than the average person. So, what happens when a child shows that they're upset? They tend to receive even more of it. So, that's one of those things that we notice in childhood, that some children are very prone to tears. And I mean, because I remember a girl like that, and there was a specific reason why. I think she felt embarrassed because she belonged to a particular religious sect and she had to wear dresses all the time, except for gym class. But she just felt like, I think she just felt like she couldn't be like the other kids. Uh, and I mean, in a way, I could see that you don't have to have a Cancer rising to be upset about that. But the idea of wearing your heart on your sleeve, that might be something that you carry with you for the rest of your life to one degree or another, because your rising sign doesn't disappear. It might go in the background, but it doesn't disappear. So the bottom line is that this may be someone who is very people oriented as well. The Cancer trait at the ascendant can be the mothering aspect. Even as a child, if you had younger siblings, you might have actually taken care of them. In some cases, you might have had to play a role in an important role in the household. If there was addiction, mental illness in your family, you might be the parentified child where you had to really grow up before your time and do these kinds of grown up things. But in your case, you would be wired to do that. You're wired to be a caretaker. However, in dysfunctional families, this is going to come as a result of some kind of failing of the parent. Well, I'm not going to say mental illness is a failing, but some dysfunction of one or both of the parents. And Libra is so Cancer is a feminine water sign. Then we have Libra, which is a masculine air sign. So both of these signs are cardinal signs, so they square off to one another. Um, you know, if you have to look at the degrees. If it's around, I guess it can go as much as 10 degrees difference, it will be a square. The closer it is, the tighter the angle, the more uh, intense the influences. But a square is a sense of frustration between who you want to be and how people see you. So even though Libra is a masculine sign, I still see it as a girly girl sign. I mean, if you're a woman, I should say. So, for instance, since Cancer is on the ascendant, and I think of Cancer as a more traditional sign, a woman with this combination may favor dresses, may favor more modesty. I mean, it depends. I just don't see that either of these signs is really like that. Now, I I kind of hesitated because Deborah Harry had her moments, believe me. I mean, freaky moments on stage. where she was very revealing, but I won't get into that because I think that's the exception and to the rule. So what this combination most likely can grant somebody is a kind disposition, a sensitive one, an emotionally savvy one, and because the sun is in Libra, the person may conduct themselves in a way that is pleasing to other people in terms of personal behavior, but so would Cancer. The only danger, if you will, of having Cancer as the ascendant is that the moon is ruling the person, and that means that the person may be a bit moody. And it doesn't have to be terrible, but in my experience, sometimes people like that tend to um, wear their heart on their sleeve, which means that if they're in a great mood, fine. That's going to be how they interact with other people. But if they're not in too hot of a mood, if they're kind of like grumpy, then other people will have to pay the price for that. And that means that um, they're going to have to deal with tolerating somebody who is totally willing to let the whole world know that they're not um, in a good mood. And that can rub off on other people just because, good vibes beget good vibes and bad vibes beget bad vibes. But it's not the end of the world. I just think that it can, by learning how to regulate one's moods more, the person can find themselves with a consistent image, because other people may get the wrong impression if they catch you on a bad day. Now, the other thing about that is that the fact that the sun is in Libra can mean that you don't understand why you have to be like that. There's like a disconnect because air signs tend to be quite detached. So you may not like the fact that you have this emotional nature. And I think that also all water signs, especially at the ascendant, have to really pay close attention to the kind of people that they hang around, or even the kind of media that they take in, the type of music, the type of everything, because water is very impressionable, and that can affect their mood too, their demeanor. The other thing about Cancer, and that could be what that frustration of the square is generating, is that the Libra person, really likes social interactions. Cancer likes it too. Cancer may be a little bit more introverted. Um, Sometimes even a bit, how would I put it? Unsure of themselves, reticent, reluctant to put themselves out there. But they still like to interact with others too because they're water sign, they're emotional, and that's, relationships are all about the emotions. But the difference is that the Cancer energy isn't very extroverted. So the person may want to be extroverted and they feel like this, maybe it's social anxiety, maybe it's, just something that makes them inhibited in some way, insecure in some way, and hypersensitive to rejection and other things like that. So that may be one area that you feel you want to solve this issue. I feel that age will take care of things, that as you get older, it will be less and less of an issue, but certainly, even in your 20s, you may feel this square very strongly in that area. What are the types of careers that this combination may enjoy? Well, the rising sign may not really affect the type of career the person gravitates towards, because that's not what it's all about. However, I will say that with the sun in Libra, the law is a big draw, because Libra rules the seventh house, which is the courtroom. So, being a lawyer, a paralegal, can be very appealing to Libra sun signs, and with Cancer rising, there can be a sensitivity towards the less fortunate. Maybe you are an advocate for a particular group, especially anything that has to do with homelessness, anything that the fourth house or Cancer would deal with. Also, children who are abused, Cancer is a sign of the mother. So anything that has a nurturing angle, that has a legal um, angle that you could fight for. So orphans, just in general, the underserved communities, that might be something that is passionate for you. Education can be a big avenue for both of these signs. In terms of, and Cancer rules history, the past. So history could be something that through your rising sign you're particularly interested in. In terms of relationships, you may be, a Libra person tends to favor relationships to the extent that they can sometimes, that can be their downfall, is a relationship. And with Cancer rising, if you had emotional deprivation as a child, you may have some kind of tendency to be quite overly attached to relationships, codependent when it comes to relationships. So you have to be very careful that you heal from any past wounds so that you don't pick the wrong type of person, but also so that you don't give too much undue importance to relationships. Relationships can be very important to a person, but if they ever overtake, your life to the point where you're not able to properly deal with other areas of your life, then that means that it's gotten out of control. And certainly we know situations where that's exactly what happens. Also, Cancer, when it's imbalanced, tends to cling to other people. It's the claws of the crab make that person, and there's a tenacity too. So, even though it's not a fixed sign or anything, so the Cancer energy has to learn how to let go, has to learn how to love without needing to control, to manipulate, to cling. The Libra energy is more detached, but the Libra energy needs to be able to be in partnership and yet also be an individual at the same time. It's not either or. It's not like, okay, I'm single, so now I'm an individual, and when I get involved with somebody, then I'm going to become like a two-headed monster with that person. No, you're still an individual, but you just happen to be in a relationship. And that's why they say interdependent rather than just completely independent, that you don't even acknowledge that other person is part of your reality in a sense, or that you need that person on some level. But you're not just completely dependent either. I think this is a very romantic combination, nostalgic with the Cancer energy, like the Six of Cups in the Tarot, where the person has that longing for, kind of the nostalgia for the past, for the good old days. And the problem is with the Cancer rising is knowing when a relationship is past its due date. If it's a negative relationship, you don't want to be in it. Even if there were good times, the good times may be toast now. And that's one of the pitfalls of having Cancer prominent with this combination, is that the person may hold on to a relationship. And this is just kind of like, because Cancer is the ascendant, I think it's kind of programmed into you because of past experiences. It's not necessarily even that you may be truly still in love with that person. It's just kind of a knee-jerk reaction because you think that that's what you should be doing, is fighting to keep that relationship, instead of taking it on a case-by-case basis. But yeah, romanticizing the past is one of Cancer's, many talents. But I think that this is a very artistic combination, creative, and uh, like I said before, kind-hearted. Definitely can get along with other people, and that can be very helpful. Also, in career situations, work situations, the person who is compatible with others tends to get hired and keep their job, right? So anyway, that's what I have for you, and I hope that this resonated. If you would like a private reading, I have double readings for a special price. I have single readings. I'm at rainamoonastrology.com. The link is below. Take care. Bye.